When I was younger, growing up in New Jersey, I experienced heavy racism in school from the Caucasian kids that were there. And it was almost a daily affair for some time. It wasn't throughout my school years, but it was around the seventh and early eighth grade, more the seventh grade. And they would have a lot of racist names like Chink, and they make fun of your eyes and your name, and they do it almost every day, and sometimes it would become violent. And to the people there who are quite ignorant, everybody who's Asian is just Chinese. It's like saying everybody who's Caucasian is just English. But due to their ignorance, they would just call everybody and anybody who's Asian a chink. And it was very demoralizing and demeaning. So after a while, I kind of connected with Asians and connected with other Asians and Asian people because, well, they're not going to say things like that to you, are they? So as we grew older, I've always wanted to live in the East. And since a very young age, coincidentally, I've always been interested in Chinese culture, Chinese royalty, Chinese archaeology and architecture, and generally the country. I used to think that China was very old and ancient, sophisticated culture. And when I was growing up, China was quite poverty-stricken, or not doing very well. But these days, China has risen to the top. And so, in a way, when China rises to the top, to some people in the West who are ignorant, they think that everybody's Chinese, and it kind of raises the status quo of Asians in those ignorant people's eyes. Not that that matters at all, because all people are equal no matter what. So I personally don't have any connections to China or anything in China. And I would love to have a connection to China because I admire the culture. Just like some people admire Greek culture, some people admire Aztec culture, Egyptian culture. I admire Chinese culture, and I don't think there's anything wrong. And for most of my adult life, I've had the fortune to live in Malaysia, where part of the population is Chinese. They don't have anything to do with China because they're Malaysian Chinese. And they've been very kind in assisting me in helping to build and to learn Dharma and to propagate the Dharma and do all kinds of activities and fundraise and study and meditate and do practices. So I'm quite indebted to the Chinese people of Malaysia who don't have anything to do with China. But in general, I'm very I'm very enamored with Chinese culture, and I relate to it. Well, my father's side relatives live in Tibet, which is now part of China. Whether people like it or not, that's just how it is now. I'm not saying I agree or don't agree, but that's just the facts. And my mother's side of the family are in Xinjiang, which is a part of China too. So all of my relatives, mother and father's side, are all in China. And I would love to connect with them and visit China to visit my blood relatives there. Now, when I received the Dorje Shugden initiation and practice 30 years ago, there's no talk about China. There's no talk about being connected with China, or that being connected with China was bad or was politically sensitive or negative. China is just China. I am who I am. But since 1996, the Tibetan leadership has made it a consistent effort to categorize people who practice Dorje Shugden as people related to China or working for China or receiving China funds, which I find very silly and illogical because there are tens of thousands of Dorje Shugden practitioners now, and before the 1996 ban created by the Tibetan leadership. And also for the last 400 years, people have been practicing Dorje Shugden since the time of His Holiness the Fifth Dalai Lama. And, they had nothing to do with China. They're just practicing it for their own spiritual reasons as given to them by the Guru. And that's what I'm doing. I practice Dorje Shugden because it's given to me by my Guru. It has nothing to do with China. So when the Tibetan leadership likes to label people that everyone and anyone who practices Dorje Shugden, everyone and anyone that practices Dorje Shugden is a paid agent of China is ridiculous. It's like saying all Tibetans follow the middle way and they're not into independence or Rangzin, which is not true. There are factions of Tibetans who are pro-Rangzin and Tibetan independence from China, and there are factions of Tibetans who are middle way. And just because you're Tibetan doesn't mean you follow the middle way. Okay? So similarly, just because you practice Dorje Shugden doesn't mean you have connections with China. And if you do have connections with China, it doesn't mean you're paid by China or you are part of Chinese part of the Chinese system of whatever people perceive them to be doing to Tibet. So therefore Tibetans who practice Dorje Shugden are immediately categorized as agents of the Chinese, which is ridiculous because there are so many of us, and there have been tens of thousands of us, and it's been for 400 years, and it couldn't be agents. And the reason we're categorized as agents of the Chinese is it appeals to the West, who have ambivalent feelings about China's rise to power and wealth and prosperity. You know, not all, but some people in the West are ambivalent because some of the Western countries, along with Japan, have been number one, number two, number three. And now when China's kind of taking over, some people can be ambivalent or a little perhaps uncomfortable with it, and some people are comfortable. So by Tibetan leadership saying that Dorje Shugden practitioners are practicing Dorje Shugden and they're siding with China, kind of wins over the Western ambivalence towards China, and it kind of matches their scheme of things to suppress Dorje Shugden practitioners and have them treated unfairly. So therefore, throughout history, politics has always been mixed with religion, and religion has been mixed with politics, and that's not very good. When religion is mixed with politics, religion becomes impure, and politics become something that can be used to harm. Throughout history, there's always some sort of labeling that leaders are divine, infallible, and that they are ordained by God or incarnations of a God or whatever, and then people go along with that. So what happens is my point is that Dorje Shugden practitioners, maybe there are some, one or two or three, who are pro-China. Maybe there are Dorje Shugden practitioners who are not pro-China. For me, I like China. I've liked China. I've respected and admired China since I was a child. That's going on 40 years. And I admired them as a race, and I admire them as an ancient, sophisticated, intelligent, and very powerful race of people who have contributed greatly to world development, just like many other races on this planet. My admiration of China has nothing to do with politics, because I've never ever been involved with politics, and I never will be. So therefore, my practice of Dorje Shugden has nothing to do with China. It never had anything to do with China, and it will never have anything to do with China. China and Dorje Shugden are different. China is a country that I admire, just like some people admire Greece, Brazil, the Aztecs, some people admire USA, whatever it is. And my spiritual practice is Dorje Shugden, and these are completely two different things. And the reason why the Tibetan leadership likes to do that is perhaps for the last 50 plus years they have not done very well in securing the independence of Tibet and negotiating with China for the middle way, an autonomy. They have not succeeded. So it's very typical of the Tibetan leadership for hundreds of years to blame it on the gods, to blame it on the lamas, to blame it on the protectors, and to generally find a scapegoat. So Dorje Shugden is a easy scapegoat to say, and they used to say this: we won't get independence from Tibet for Tibet. We won't get independence for Tibet because Dorje Shugden is disrupting it. Nuns and monks disrobe because of Dorje Shugden's evil blessings. Lamas won't live long because of Dorje Shugden's wrath. Well, since the Dorje Shugden ban in 1996 till now, Dorje Shugden hasn't punished, hurt, damaged, or killed any lamas, any monks, or any geshis. And there are quite a few monks and lamas and geshis who have criticized Dorje Shugden and had campaigns against him, but you don't see them harmed and hurt in any way, which proves to you over time Dorje Shugden harms nobody, as Khyentse Trungpa has already said, that he is Manjushri. Okay? So therefore, he's basically a scapegoat, and there are many other people many other people in situations in Tibetan society that the West will not know about that are made into scapegoats. But we Tibetans on the inside who speak Tibetan will hear about these scapegoats. We'll hear about these intrigues and problems and difficulties. So the point of my talking and saying all this is not to defame the Tibetan government, because there are people in the Tibetan government who are good. There are. And there are people who are not and who use their positions for personal gain and money. And there are good people in China and who really want prosperity and wealth and for the country to grow and to do better, just like any other citizen of their country. And there are people in the West who are very good, and there are people in the West who are ambivalent or perhaps even uncomfortable with the rise of China in the world global power table. And then there are Dorje Shugden practitioners who are very good, and there are Dorje Shugden practitioners perhaps not doing their best. And there are non-Dorje Shugden practitioners who are not very good, and there are non-Dorje Shugden practitioners who are very good. So, we don't generalize people just because of their race or their color or their religion or their background. That's very, very wrong. So I practice Dorje Shugden because my guru gave him to me, and I will never contradict the advice of my guru. It doesn't matter to me what other lamas and other high-ranking teachers or famous teachers say. For me, my teacher is my teacher, and I will only follow his advice, and my mind will never stir from my personal teacher's advice, because he gave me that advice from his heart, for his love for me, and for him observing what I need in this life to practice. So if other people want to label me a Chinese spy, a Chinese agent, a Chinese employee, and put me down, well, the simple thing is this: prove it. Prove that I am with paperwork, with documents, with bank statements. If you cannot prove it and you simply say it over and over and over, it may make me look bad and many other Dorje Shugden people look bad in the beginning, but over time, the accusers themselves will look silly, illogical, hateful, and maybe just following some sort of propaganda that over time they'll abandon because it makes them look ridiculous. I practice Dorje Shugden because my guru, Khyentse Trungpa, gave it to me. And no one on this planet, in the 10 directions, in the 3 planes of existence, can ever deter my willpower to follow my guru's instructions. No one may override that in my mind. No one. I will never abandon my guru. I will never think negative thoughts about my guru. I will never abandon any practice my guru has given me. I will never defy my guru or show disrespect to my guru or show wrong body actions or show wrong attitude to my guru. I will never do that. My enlightenment and my attainment of higher realizations depend on the blessings of my guru. Number 2, I admire and I always look up to China, and I'm happy of their rise in prosperity and the growth of their country. Any country that does better, I rejoice. My admiration of Chinese culture, language, history, background, court etiquette, their royalty, their dance, their music, their cuisine, their inventions, their incredible amount of resilience and entrepreneurship is an example to the world, and has nothing to do with any political views. And I'm grateful to the Chinese people in Malaysia and to Malaysia and all of Malaysia for having to host me and my success, whatever that is, in people's views. and my life. So I just wanted to kind of say this because I had a thought that growing up, I was heavily, I had to experience heavy racism and being called a chink. And now as an adult, because of my religion, I am called racist remarks that I support China and I'm against the Tibetan Dalai Lama, all that. And that's not true. I am not against the Dalai Lama. I love the Dalai Lama. I respect him. So remarks like this doesn't move me or move any Dorje Shugden practitioners or anyone, but it serves to contribute to prejudice, hatred, anger, and segregation of people. Whatever religion and color we are, underneath we're all the same. We should promote harmony. We should promote love. We should promote care. We should promote equality among all people, irregardless of religion. Irregardless. This is very important.